Konami's Pro Evolution Soccer 2017 hit the shelves a little bit earlier this month. It's time to take a look at this one, the positives and the negatives. For the past 2 years, the Pro Evolution Soccer brand has consistently rebuilt its momentum as it's gone back to its glory days when it was actually the top-notch soccer simulation available for video game fans. EA Sports FIFA series grabbed that mantle as the king for probably the last 5 to 7, maybe even longer, 5 to 7 years. But Pro Evolution is coming back for its crown. Last 2 years, it was a great game, but has it taken even more steps this year than it had last season? Let's take a look at the positives and the negatives. Let's start off, of course, with the positives. This is the best collision physics that I think I've ever seen. There were plays back on Pro Evolution Soccer 2016, and you may or may not have seen the videos that I produced last year for that I replayed over and over again because of how crisp the physics detection was in last year's game. Well, this year's game is even better in that department. If you're a hardcore sports game fan, then you're going to appreciate that authenticity during the instant replays. When something happens on the pitch, you want to go back and watch the video, and you want to go back and watch the replay and be able to say, I see exactly why that happened. It hit this foot, it hit the knee, it hit the elbow, it hit the shoulder, it hit the head. Whatever it hit, you want to be able to watch that and say, okay, I see why I see why the ball reacted the way that it did. Usually, you hear about these new branded concepts, you hear about real touch, real pass, and all that sort of thing. And when you actually get to play the game, it doesn't manifest itself quite the same way. But that's not the case here. This game, the physics detection and the collision detection is excellent. The bounces of the ball on the grass, off the players, into the net, the way everything reacts against each other is awesome. The adaptive AI actually does make a difference. I'll give you an example. I was playing a game, I was controlling Fernando Torres, and I was doing well. I had scored a couple goals with him, I believe, and it was the first time in 3 matches, I think, that I had managed to score more than 1 goal in a contest. But from that point on, the CPU's AI made it much harder to get El Nino free. He was marked by 2 guys for most of the time. Anytime you get anywhere near the clear, they converged on him in the area. And it was frustrating for me, but it was the type of frustration that you want to feel when you're playing a sports video game, because you know that in real life, when an athlete starts to dominate, the manager or the coach on the other side is going to make the type of adjustments to try to take him or her away. And that's what you see with the adaptive AI. In a overall type of a concept, in a blanket statement, the gameplay is just really good, just fun. I mean, we can use a lot of technical jargon and say all of that different stuff about collision detection and intuitive controls. We can say all of that, but PES 2017 is just really fun to play. It's challenging enough to keep you from like dominating too quickly, i.e. the example I gave of Fernando Torres, but it's also just off of being so difficult where it's discouraging. So it kind of walks that line really well. When you do score a goal, or if you set a teammate up perfectly and, with a through ball or something to that effect, you feel the excitement that you're supposed to feel when you score a goal in this sport. It's not like basketball, obviously, where, you're looking at 50, 60 balls that going down and going in the net over a course of a game. Goals are supposed to be an event, and they feel like that in Pro Evolution Soccer. The game is just fun to play. This is Customization City. The Pro Evolution Soccer developers deserve a lot of credit for creating a creation suite that's designed to help their community kind of bridge the gap between them and FIFA and all the licenses that FIFA has that they don't. English Premier League, the major Spanish clubs like Real Madrid, they don't have the license to use those logos, those kits, and that sort of thing. And you can feel it immediately. But with the customization that Pro Evolution offers to its community, if you have the time, you're able to kind of close the gap, not totally, and most people are not going to have enough time to recreate all these different crests and the kits and so on and so forth. But if you do, you'll be able to make your experience feel a little bit more authentic. Now, if you're a PlayStation 4 user, if you have a thumb drive, you can transfer the files from maybe someone else who has actually even created some of the, the more authentic kits and so on and so forth. If they've been able to kind of close some of those gaps, you'll be able to kind of get that copy of that data from there, which makes it a lot easier. It's unfortunately not available for Xbox One gamers. You're not going to be able to copy that customization the same way, but something is better than nothing. But yeah, we'll get to the negatives and we'll kind of take off a little bit for that a little later. There's been steps taken to add to the visual authenticity. In previous versions of Pro Evolution, the players they weren't always great renders. You look at guys like Messi, his render was not all that great before, and the other guys, even Cristiano Ronaldo's, his render wasn't all that good, and even some of the lower level stars or lower level great players, you'd see that it's a little bit something missing there. Now, obviously, the Fox engine is what powers everything with Pro Evolution, much like how the Frostbite engine is now powering everything for FIFA. You're seeing some definite upgrades from a visual standpoint, not just heads on players, but we're talking about stadiums and the whole nine are looking better on PES. The Master League, which is, as you guys know, I'm a franchise mode guy. That's the closest thing you're going to get to a franchise mode. It's a similar thing there with Pro Evolution. It's my favorite of all the modes that they offer, but we'll talk a little bit more about the modes that they offer a little later. But this year's game has an updated transfer system. You get a little bit more monetary management. The match scheduling has gotten a little bit better and more realistic. And there's a few different new negotiation terms for player acquisitions, including now being able to do loans. So you always like when there's a layer added to the franchise mode concept in a sports video game. But now let's get to the negatives. I am always and always will be a big commentary and presentation guy, and the commentary in Pro Evolution is real bad. It's not good at all. As good as the physics are, that's how bad the commentary is. Most of the lines are like totally lifeless. The energy sometimes does get ramped up, but it feels like it gets ramped up at the wrong time. There's a ton of repeated phrases. There's not enough player, club, or league specific content. So you have a hard time really feeling the difference between a English Premier League game or a La Liga game, even though you don't have either one of those leagues. So it's just, the commentary doesn't do the game any favors at all. There's no in-game immersion for major tournaments and matches. So this piggybacks a little bit off of what I was just saying, along with the bland lines that, come from the lackluster commentary. You could be in the middle of, the UEFA tournament, or you can be in the middle of a humongous game in what is supposed to be the English Premier League, and it doesn't feel any different than a friendly. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. There should be something, outside of the pre-match presentation. So, they have the whole UEFA visual presentation, visual package, and all that goes on. But in the match itself, nothing feels different. I hate to continue to say this, but it's impossible for us not to talk about the lack of exclusive licenses or the lack of licensing in this game as a negative. If you think about it, EA owns most of the main licenses that people are really going to want. EA owns. Now, I'll give Konami a lot of credit for working to still try to secure as much as possible. Obviously, FC Barcelona, they got total access to them this year, so that was great. But you still are looking at Manchester City not properly represented, Manchester United, so many other clubs across the entire world just are not there and are replaced with, or at least the visual presentation of them are replaced with some bland, really generic look. And hey, there's a reason why these companies pay a lot of money for these licenses. It's because it does matter to the fans. And I know it's a financial situation and so on and so forth. But when we're talking about whether or not how well you can enjoy a game overall, not just the gameplay, but overall aspect of it, though not having those licenses is a big deal. Another mode, or a mode that we can talk about on the negative side, is My Club. It has almost no improvements, and that was pretty disappointing because it does have the new scouting out, the new auction block, and some people don't even like that that's actually even been included. But I do give them credit for adding that in. But it's virtually the same thing as it was last year, and we're looking at all of these different sports franchises, MLB The Show, FIFA, NBA 2K, NHL, Madden, all adding layers to their virtual card or their figurine or whatever it is that is the symbol of their concept here. But it's the card collecting fantasy concept. We're looking at all of these games adding depth to it, and it just doesn't seem as though My Club did anything with that. The one thing I do still love about My Club, I think their player reveal is still the best. I mean, Madden, NBA 2K, all of them should copy off of the way My Club reveals a big time player when the meter goes across and you have to stop the meter, and it stops on one of the gold or silver balls, and then you get a big time player from that draw. If that happened during a pack opening on FIFA or on MLB The Show or Madden or NBA 2K, it would just be amazing. So that presentation is great. But again, that's been there for years. There's nothing new added of any real significance on My Club. Overall, the modes themselves are just not fully fleshed out. There's no story concept for Be a Legend. Master League does have some of those aforementioned additions, but if you look at mode to mode across the board with Pro Evolution Soccer, there's not a lot of depth. You can tell their major focus, and I don't blame them, was establishing stellar gameplay, and they absolutely succeeded in that area. But the other aspects of their game, which is obviously very important, leave a bit to be desired. So in my opinion, the mission has been accomplished on one side because they have caught up to FIFA, and many will say they have surpassed FIFA when it comes to gameplay. We'll talk obviously about FIFA when I do the FIFA review, but there's no question, at the very least, Pro Evolution Soccer can compete with FIFA, if not beat it, when it comes to full gameplay. But when it comes to the overall package, modes, presentation, visuals, sound, a game is a complete project. It's not just one particular thing. When it comes to that, I think that aspect of their goal is still a bit shaky. That said, my score for Pro Evolution Soccer 2017 is a 7.5 out of 10.